Welcome back to my channel, fellow gardeners. Today I want to talk about the angel's trumpet. Now, all down my driveway I have the angel's trumpet just lined on one side. And today I want to talk about seed propagation and show you how to do that. In my previous episodes, I did cover soil and water propagation, and we will put the link down. So welcome back. My name is Alice, and I'm the Red Soil Gardener. Now, with the angel's trumpet, as I mentioned earlier, we have done two types of propagation, which is a soil propagation and a water propagation. These propagations using the angel's trumpet, which we did the Brugmansia, it happens really fast because it's such a rigorous grower, and within a month you should have your rooting and you can put the water propagation into the soil. Now, I decided that let me try a different method and see if it works. So the other day, I actually went out and I got my seed pods because I wasn't sure that it did produce seed pods, and I did find the seed pods. So today we're going to do a seed propagation on the Brugmansia angel's trumpet, and I will show you the results of it. Now, the thing about angel's trumpets is that you do get two types of variety, which has these lovely trumpet-shaped flowers. I have actually the Brugmansia, and I have it in different shades. So I have a white one, I have a peach-colored one, and I have a yellow one. However, there is a different type of angel's trumpet, which is called the datura. Now, the datura is a smaller version. They don't grow so tall because my Brugmansia are actually about 10 feet tall and they just keep growing. Whereas the datura ones are actually quite small and their flowers point upwards towards the sun, whereas my Brugmansia, the flowers actually point downwards. Now, when you go into seed propagation for the angel's trumpet, the Brugmansia does, after it flowers, as we know, once it flowers, it goes into seed production. And then what you do find is you get these lovely seed pods hanging where the flower was initially. Now, what you do with this particular one is once you do open it like this, is suddenly you'll find all these seeds in there. And I really do like the shape of the seeds. They look a bit sort of rough edges. Now, before I go on, I must warn you that the angel's trumpet is quite poisonous, and I just forgot to wear my gloves. Do have your gloves all the time because it does produce a latex, which can be quite toxic to dogs and to humans. So just make sure you do put your gloves on. So now when we look at this lovely seed pod with all these lovely seeds, so those are all from one seed pod. So now what happens is that once you do get your seeds like this, you let them dry. Now what I did here is, let me put this one aside, is basically these have been dried for almost 6 months. I've just been keeping it in a jar, and I know it is the angel's trumpet. I should have actually labeled it, but I've left it open so that you don't get the moisture inside. So now if I do sprinkle my lovely angel's trumpet seeds here, once they dried, they actually do turn a lighter shade and they harden. And once they've hardened, you know that your angel's trumpet seeds are actually ready to do a soil propagation. Now, what you do then is, I'm using my normal recycled plastic. They're really good containers, especially for propagation, for as long as you put your drainage holes at the back so that the water can drain through. But I love using them because they're nice size and you can actually plant quite a lot of stuff in it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take these seeds and put them on top of the soil, just like that. I do have a lot of pumice in here. soil, potting soil, a bit of organic stuff. I just make my own mixtures, but it always works. So I'm just sprinkling these on top, like that. Now the thing about angel's trumpet seeds, one shouldn't actually have them too deep in the soil because they do need light to germinate. So as you've seen, I've put them right at the top, just sprinkled them at the top. And then what I would do is lightly cover it because it does need light to actually germinate. And then they do well because I've tried them before where I've sunk them too deep and then I think they just rot or they don't take off. But this is just a simple sprinkle on top, lightly cover it, and that's it. Like that. Just clear here. So once I've done that, what I would do is actually lightly sprinkle it to be moist. Just very light. With the drainage hole, it's just draining through, which is not bad, so I'll just let it drain out. Now the thing is as we know with propagation, once you've actually planted your seed or your cutting, what you do, keep the soil moist and not soggy. You don't want it waterlogged. Second thing is that you put it in indirect light because you don't want to put it in full sun. It actually won't work. The third thing is that you have to put it in a warm place. Warmth is very, very important for germination or for propagation. So normally what I do is if I'm doing something like this and I'm not very sure, I do keep it in my kitchen because I do get the afternoon sun coming in there. So I move it onto one of the shelves where it gets its bright indirect sun, but it gets its warmth. So choose different locations. If you have a greenhouse, that can work. But I usually do a lot of my propagation in my kitchen. So this is just as simple as that. Now, what I did is I actually did my little propagation, seed propagation, and I'm actually so proud of this because in my mind, I never thought that you could actually use seeds to propagate the angel's trumpet. And look at that, I've got 3 little babies there, which are ready to move into a slightly bigger pot like this. I wouldn't move it into a really large pot because what happens is that if you put it in a large pot, is that the roots now are going to struggle to go down. Whereas if you put it in a smaller pot, basically as you water and keep them moist, is that the roots just feel really comfortable. And later as it grows bigger, then you move it into a larger pot. So let me move this here. And so I have my 3 pots for my 3 seedlings. And all I'll do is just transplant it. Oh, I got this one here. So it's just simply, I'm going to make a hole. Yeah, just like that. And what I had done before is yesterday evening, I did water the soil so that it can actually have its time to drain through so it's not waterlogged. And it just makes it easier to move this, which is in water, sort of in soil that is moist, straight into another soil that is moist. So here we go, we scoop one out. I can actually pull it. Oh my gosh, it's got a lot of rooting. Now this is about a month, let's say 6 weeks old, the seedling. And look at that rooting. So I'm going to put this little baby in here just like that and just cover it. And I might add a bit more soil just so that it doesn't tilt backwards. Okay, there's baby number 1. So I'm going to pull this one out. this one? Let's pull this one out. So that's little miniature baby number 2. And I'm going to put this one in here. And just put a bit more soil on top. Just need to hold it so it doesn't tilt, because the stem is quite flimsy. So my last one, I'm just going to maybe just remove a bit of this soil because the rooting seems to be quite deep. So I'm just going to put this one in like this with its rooting and then cover it. We don't want it to tilt. So that's my baby number 3. So what I'm going to do is put them back here, and they look quite happy. But what I will do is just snip some of these leaves off, the ones at the bottom. Just like that. Leave that one. Take this one off. And take that one off. Now, I'm going to leave them here until they get a bit more stronger. Then I'm going to put it in a bigger pot, something similar to this size. Now, what happens is as it's growing, which I won't do now, as it grows to a certain height, I'm going to pinch the top of the plant so that we can get branching. And once you get that branching, then the plant will look fuller and basically it'll look very attractive. So we can actually follow this up on Instagram, but that is how you do a seed propagation using the Brugmansia seed pod. Now with the datura plant, which is actually it is an angel's trumpet, but as we mentioned, the flowers point upwards towards the sun. Now they have a different type of seed pod. Their seed pods are round and spiky, and what happens is that if you do open it, you will get your seeds in there, and they are known to actually scatter, self-seed themselves once it opens. But with that particular plant is you can carry out the same propagation as I have done, which is basically putting it in soil, the seeds, cover it lightly because it needs the light for germination. And once it has sort of rooted and you get your seedlings, you follow exactly the same process as I have done. So fellow gardeners, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Now do go and have a look at your Brugmansia and do look for those seed pods. And don't forget, once you have your seed pods, and to wear gloves, once you do have your seed pod, dry them until they're really hard and they've suddenly changed color to a lighter shade. And then with that, you can actually do your seed propagation. Don't forget to like, and don't forget to share and subscribe. And don't forget to press that notification button. We are on Instagram. I do answer all the comments. I do post a lot. We are on Facebook and also on YouTube. Do send me a comment. I always do try to answer. And don't forget that we do upload every Thursday, and we will actually, with this episode, put the link for the soil and water propagation for the Brugmansia below. So happy gardening, and do look out for your seeds.